Kia ora. Well, a very hot day for many parts of the eastern side of the South Island yesterday. Temperatures in parts of Canterbury up as high as 34 degrees Celsius, but many spots through Canterbury and Otago yesterday up to around about 30 degrees. Now, as we head through the rest of today, we're going to find there's still plenty of sunshine and dry weather across New Zealand, but we are also going to find it's not quite as warm in those eastern parts of the South Island. Still fairly pleasant, highs back up into the high 20s, but I think for many of us we're going to find it's a little bit cooler for through parts of Canterbury and Otago with a bit more of that onshore feed of air. Up north though, up on the North Island, the high pressure sits over us and it continues to bring plenty of fine, dry and settled conditions, and those temperatures are still fairly warm as well. Many spots up into the high 20s, even nudging at 30 degrees Celsius once again as we head through the afternoon today. So here we are, the afternoon temperatures for Friday. You can see we've got some slightly cool temperatures for the likes of, say, Christchurch, 24 degrees Celsius. There will still be some spots on the South Island where the temperature will reach 30 degrees Celsius, particularly places like Central Otago, places like Wanaka and Alexandra. Another hot day for you. As we're going towards the North Island, many spots here you can see up into the high 20s once again. So a fairly warm story across New Zealand. And we'll keep hold of those high temperatures through the night time and also in towards the weekend as well. Now the weather overnight for most of us, it looks fairly settled. Big area of high pressure keeps most of the wet weather away. We'll find areas of cloud still pushing through us from time to time, but generally it's a dry and warm night. Once again, temperatures across the North Island down as low as only about 13 or 14 degrees Celsius through parts of Waikato, while up north we're still looking at temperatures minimums only around about 16 degrees Celsius. So a very warm night there. A little bit cooler down in the far south, but not unpleasantly so. As we head in towards Saturday, high pressure continues to dominate the weather across the North Island and the majority of those northern parts of the South Island. There is a bit more in the way of unsettled weather pushing up from the south. You can see these bands of wet weather feeding in towards Fiordland and up in towards Southland by the end of the day, and keeping more cloud on those western coasts as well. We'll also find our winds increasing through the likes of, say, Cook Strait and also down in the far south. So we have got a few severe weather watches in place as we head through Saturday and also in towards Sunday. The first of those watches is for some stronger winds around the likes of, say, Southland, Stewart Island and down in towards Fiordland as well. These winds will be northwesterlies that increase ahead of these fronts and could reach severe gale at times in the most exposed areas. So they're not for everyone. I think the windiest spots will be across those western areas and down in the south. But as we go through the daytime on Saturday from 10 AM to 10 PM, it's worth keeping an eye on the forecast and rather blustery conditions through there. We've also got some heavy rainfall as well, arriving in Fiordland first from around about 5 PM on Saturday, and that watch runs right the way through in towards the early hours of Sunday, and those stronger winds that pushing some of that rain across in towards those higher parts of the Otago lakes and rivers headwater areas, so parts of the region there, with that watch running from 3 AM on Sunday through to 1 PM on Sunday. And then as that rain moves northwards on Sunday, there's that third watch there for the ranges of Westland as well, from 5 AM to 11 PM on Sunday. So we have got some of that wet weather, but for the North Island, it's a dry story. You can see we've got areas of cloud to chase first thing, perhaps in towards Waikato, in towards Waitomo and Taranaki and down towards the Kapiti coast. But for many of us, Saturday is looking like a dry day with plenty of sunshine, that cloud breaking up and clearing away to give plenty of sunshine as we head through in towards the afternoon. A little bit more cloud pushes it back in towards those eastern parts of the Bay of Plenty later on and back in towards the Kapiti coast by evening. But for many of us, it's a dry story. It's a fine looking one, and we've got plenty of brightness through the day as well. The highest temperatures for the North Island probably going to be on that eastern coast, places like Tairafti and down towards Hawke's Bay, 29 to about 30 degrees Celsius quite widely. And I think you can see many spots reaching in towards those mid or even high 20s quite nicely through Saturday. But it's worth saying it's not just those high temperatures by day, it's also those warm nights that we'll be keeping a very close eye on. Those nighttime minimums, 18 degrees Celsius through parts of Hawke's Bay and up in towards Gisborne. So while the daytime temperatures not unusually high for the time of year, but it's going to be a combination of those warm daytime, or those hot daytime temperatures and those warm nights, which may lead to some heat alerts in some areas. So do check the Met Service website for the latest information on those. It's really that combination of hot days and warm nights. As we head down towards the South Island, again, the high pressure gives many of us a fine start today. A touch more cloud around the likes of the Canterbury coast and in towards Otago, but that breaks up quite nicely. And we're left with plenty of clear sky and sunshine through there. That next area of rainfall feeds northwards up through Fiordland and in towards Western through the daytime. And by the evening time, it runs in towards Southland as well, although many spots there should stay dry for much of the day. But we will find those winds picking up through Southland, so there is that watch through there. And we've also got that watch for the end of the day for that rainfall in Fiordland and then spreading northwards through Sunday up in towards Westland. But for many of us, we'll find it's a dry day, and with those winds turning more northwesterly again, bringing that heat across the land, we're going to find it's another hot day through parts of Canterbury and Otago. Those temperatures really ramping up. So we have got some pretty high temperatures again for Saturday. You'll notice a little bit of a yellow stream just around the coast there, where things are just a little bit cooler than you'll find further inland. So perhaps heading towards the coast, you can take a degree or so off these temperatures. But 31 degrees Celsius in Christchurch, once again, a hot day there on Saturday. And I think we are going to find those temperatures quite widely, even down towards Dunedin as well. So it is going to be a hot day. Now, it's worth saying the combination of dry weather, high temperatures, and in some of those spots, those increasing winds will elevate that risk for wildfires. So it's really important as we head through the weekend to check it's all right before you do your outdoor activities. Even things like mowing may spark just one or two fires. So do keep an eye on the forecast. Plenty of moderate risks across the North Island, including in some of those more urban areas as well. It's not just a rural issue, but it's well worth keeping an eye on the fire risk in your local area. As we head down towards the South Island, you can see that risk rises to very high, or even in some of those more central parts of Canterbury and up in towards Marlborough, to extreme. So really the combination of that dry weather and those high temperatures, and like I said, those strengthening winds will really be factors to be keeping a very close eye on over the next few days. As we head in towards Sunday, we'll start to find a little bit of a change in the weather. So we are going to find, as we go through Sunday, this next area of rain continues to move northwards up the South Island. Some heavy falls in towards Western, and we have got that severe weather watch through there. Up across the North Island, well, the high pressure is still very much in control. So for many of us, it's another dry day. There's more cloud being pushed in from the north and the west. So I think we will find it starts to turn cloudier, and perhaps over some of those higher parts and towards parts of, say, the Taurua district or up into Taurua range, we may find a few showers through there and perhaps over the top of the central plateau. But for many of us, it's the cloud will increase through the daytime on, say, Sunday. Also find those winds picking up through the likes of Cook Strait, and a real change in those wind direction across the South Island. So we lose those northwesterlies, and we find that we're replaced with southerlies, and that's more of an issue as we go through towards Monday. So for the start of next week, it's a wetter story across the North Island, and with those winds turning more southerly across the south, we'll find our temperatures a fair bit cooler for the South Island. We go from highs of, say, around about 30 degrees Celsius on Saturday and Sunday in Christchurch to only around about 17 or 18 degrees Celsius in some of those spots. So I think we are going to find a real change in the weather as we head through towards the start of next week. So do keep an eye on the forecast, and as ever, you can find all the information at metservice.com.